You see Andrew Shrout, Cat Light ready to battle. The team of Negri, Light, and Stanley loving the Izzet Phoenix. All three players on the same deck. We're going to be watching, though, Andrew Shrout take on Cat Light. And I mentioned this mono red burn deck. This is a bit of a brew from Andrew Shrout. You hear the words burn, you probably lose interest a little bit, and you're just like, oh, a bunch of boring burn spells. No, Andrew Shrout's brought the fire, both figuratively and literally this week, with 4 Fanatical Firebrands in the main deck. And that's a card that gives you a bit of pause, not one we often see in these burn lists, but when you start to think about the format at large, you can see where he's going with it.
Yeah, I mean, if you want a way to turn off opposing Bridge from Belows, this is a card that easily does that without having to invest like another burn spell on your own creature. Obviously, it's an aggressive card, just gets in the red zone. It can pick off an early play out of humans. You know, on its face, it's just not a powerful card for me to bring to the modern format, but maybe in the metagame that we're looking at, it actually has enough utility to where it justifies the inclusion. Yeah,
I think it's a contextual thing, and I like Shrout's efforts here. Also of note, 8 Horizon lands in this mono red burn deck. 12 Mountain, 4 Fiery Islet, 4 Sunbaked Canyon. So Shrout able to cash in a full 8 of his lands for an additional draw, something really appreciated by this mono red burn deck.
Yeah, the mono red decks have often looked to get a little more utility out of their lands, and it often just wasn't a good enough option to do it. And I think that these new Horizon lands are just perfect for the burn deck that doesn't care about its own life total. It's always trying to race its opponent across the finish line, and being able to cash in extraneous lands in the mid-game is just exactly what the deck wants to be doing.
Also note, only 5 cards in the deck that can't be cast for 1 mana. There's the 1 Searing Blaze for Eidolon of the Great Revel. Everything else can theoretically be cast for 1 mana. Of course, Light Up the Stage, Skewer the Critics have higher converted mana costs, but they have that Spectacle ability to be cast much more cheaply.
Yep, Rift Bolt, same thing.
Yep, absolutely. So Goblin Guide already getting aggressive. The ideal start from the burn deck. Cat Light just content to go ahead and do a little cantripping. Cast a Thought Scour on her first turn. Goblin Guide going to attack again. Puts a land in the Cat's hand.
Yeah, and I'd be surprised if Shrout does not have an Eidolon here. His deck just has so many 1-drops in it that you know, all of his optimal starts involve, you know, multiple 1-drops over the first 2 turns, or 1-drop into Eidolon.
Cat going to go ahead, cast Thought Scour.
Well, I guess the other option is that Shrout just doesn't have
no
a second land.
Yeah, that could be the case. Nope. Here's a second land. So interesting timing on that lightning bolt. I guess it's before damage, so that makes sense.
Yep.
I see where we're at now. But you were right. Follow-up for Shrout is going to be Eidolon of the Great Revel.
And I like Cat's play. Like, obviously, the Eidolon is a very big problem for these Izzet Phoenix decks. But she had another answer for it in her hand. She was able to use the information from the Goblin Guide to know whether or not she wanted to mill herself. It's these little extra points of value that, you know, they seem insignificant at the time, but over the course of an event, over the course of a Magic career, these little edges are what make the better players win more.
Oh, absolutely. Cat was able to clean up that Eidolon via Flame Slash. He's done a very nice job effectively stymieing Shrout's early aggression. Of course, Izzet Phoenix primed to play the early game, most of its spells costing very little mana. A very efficient deck. Only 2 colors, doesn't have to get completely beat up by its mana base. Here's a follow-up Eidolon for Shrout.
All right, this one might be a problem.
Yeah, let's see if Cat has access to another removal spell.
Yeah, because a lightning bolt got milled earlier in the game.
Cat with a pretty stock-looking list of Izzet Phoenix, much like many of the players we've seen this weekend. 3 Aria Flame in the main deck. 1 Lava Dart, 1 Sinkhole, 1 Flame Slash, 2 Finale of Promise, a split between Opt and Sleight of Hand, and 2 main deck Surgical Extractions.
Yeah, and the surgical extractions are they're a painful one in this matchup, right? There's a lot of matchups where you can see yourself getting some extra utility out of them. It's another free spell that you can cast. There are times you want to peel a particular card out of the opponent's graveyard. Hopefully they have a copy in their hand. But against the burn deck, the 2 life is so big.
There you see a copy of Aria and Flame in Cat's hand. I believe Lava Dart.
Yeah, this might just be take a mess of damage from Lava Dart, get this Eidolon off of the board, and then, proceed with my game plan from there.
Cat with a little bit of a pained look on her face. I think that probably reflects the damage this Eidolon's about to do.
Yeah, and I liked Cat's spot. Before this second Eidolon came down, still a 16 life. The opponent had no board. You had a big graveyard that you're starting to work with.
So Cat tapping 3 mana here. Gonna check in with teammates. Yeah, Cat just in a squeeze here. Eidolon's a messed up Magic card, that's for sure. And Cat just going to go ahead and deploy. Aria Flame takes 2 from the Eidolon trigger, going to fall to 13. And now going to go ahead and Lava Dart.
Ooh, this is a painful way to do this.
Yeah, I mean, she's prioritizing the counters on the Aria Flame. And it's an interesting decision, but you're right, it's a painful decision here. A lot of damage headed Cat's way. Is going to be able to get that Eidolon off the battlefield. Do a little damage to Shrout in the process, but of course Shrout gaining 10 life from that Aria, now sitting at a comfortable 27. But we've seen Aria make you real uncomfortable real fast.
Yeah, the term comfortable 27 is not a real thing with Aria.
Look at this draw from Shrout. Just has another Eidolon, says, yep, this is what I got. Cat looking a little distraught.
Oh, that's funny.
Let's see if she can find her way out from the 3rd Eidolon of the Great Revel of the game. We thought the second one was problematic. The 3rd one, I mean, she already had to cash in a Lava Dart and a land to answer the last one.
Yeah, that was a lot of resources.
Taking 6 damage in the process, too. This Eidolon doing work right now, cutting off Cat's options.
There was also the fear. You're passing the turn back to your opponent. Eidolon is a disaster. But what if he just plays another land and has 3 burn spells?
Burn, yeah. A lot of fear when you're playing against this mono red burn deck, that's for sure. Here's a sleight of hand. Obviously, the decision to play the Lava Dart, or play the Aria Flame before the Lava Dart.
Oh, she hit a good one.
Is close. Where Andrew has the follow-up Eidolon, it feels disastrous.
She hit a great one here.
Magmatic Sinkhole. You're right, that's the perfect answer. No damage from the Eidolon, a converted mana cost much higher than Eidolon's threshold. Still going to be able to get that threat off the battlefield and do some more damage with Aria Flame.
Yep, only cost 1 mana to do it. So, Cat's going to be able to continue advancing her plan, getting more counters on this Aria.
Yep. And there goes that Eidolon.
And now I think Shrout has to close out the game next turn.
Cat's life total is precarious, sitting only at 7. A lot of potential hands that she just dies to from Shrout. Looking at the way this deck is constructed, there's just 1 mana burn spell after 1 mana burn spell.
Yeah, Shrout would have to peel another land in order to be able to do that.
But it's wild. Cat only needs to cast 3 spells on her next turn to win the game. That's it.
Yeah.
Any 3 spells win her the game. Any 3 non-creature spells win her the game. And I see a Manamorphose in hand.
Oh, no.
Has a Fiery Islet as well for some redraws.
Yeah, and I think there's a discussion here of whether she wants to try to shoot the moon.
And go for it now?
Yeah, she might not have all the pieces right now.
That's a close call.
If she has 2 cantrips in her hand, going from 7 to 6 is huge when your opponent's just playing all these 3 damage burn spells.
And I think she has Manamorphose Faithless Looting as the 2 cards in hand. I don't think you can go for it in that spot.
And it does look like Shrout I mean, obviously, he just has a mess of burn spells in his hand that he's been bottlenecked on mana, and he hasn't been able to play.
No, I think I want to revise my position. If her hand is Manamorphose and Faithless Looting, which I'm not 100% sure about. Obviously, it's hard to read the player's hands very quickly as the cards shuffle around. If that's the hand, I do think I would have gone for it in that spot.
Sure. Yeah, you look at so many cards, right?
Yeah, I think so. Shrout just going to pass the turn back here. Cat's going to cash in that Fiery Islet.
I think the idea, if you're Shrout, is giving your opponent a chance to make a mistake.
Right.
Maybe they actually
take a damage.
Take that damage from the Islet.
Yep, you assume he has 6 points of damage sitting in his hand right now. So Cat's going to start things off with the Manamorphose, and this is basically a certainty. Takes the draw. Thing in the Ice, Faithless Looting. So I think she would have missed if she went for it last turn, right? Thing in the Ice, Faithless Looting, or Thing in the Ice land come off the top.
There would have been one more look, right? Would have drawn a card from the Manamorphose and then 2 more cards from the Faithless Looting.
I think you're right, and I didn't catch what it was. But she did draw another Faithless Looting, a Serum Visions. All of that is good. And that is going to do it. Cat Light takes down Andrew Shrout's burn deck, now up a game in the Izzet Phoenix burn matchup.
And you kind of have to feel for Shrout there, where his hand is like so good, but he just needs that one more land. And that's the sacrifice you make when you play a deck like Burn.
Yep.
You don't have that hand sculpting. You don't have the same level of consistency. Sure, all your burn spells are very redundant. They all kind of do the same thing. But you don't have the ability to go find an extra land when you really need it.
Yeah, very much living by the top of your deck, and the top of the deck, despite providing 3 Eidolon and the Great Revel, somehow was still not kind enough to Andrew Shrout in that game, seemingly just 1 point of damage short against Cat Light. Meanwhile, teammates Aaron Barich up a game against Robert Stanley, Harlan Furr down a game against Kazu Negri. Furr also playing that Grixis Urza list that we saw last round in the hands of Koval. But let's talk sideboarding. We'll start over on Andrew Shrout's side. There you're looking at 4 Ravenous Trap, 3 Smash to Smithereens, 2 Harsh Mentor, 2 Flame Slash, 2 Syrian Blaze, 1 Surgical Extraction, and 1 Tormod's Crypt. Craig, what do you want to do if you're over on Andrew's side?
So I think there's an argument to be made for the Flame Slash, being able to clear out the 4 toughness creature before that, the Thing in the Ice flips. That creature can be problematic for him at certain points. But a lot of these cards, I think this is a matchup where he's going to get to do what he wants to do, and he needs to do that thing as fast as possible, and he shouldn't be messing around with a lot of these other cards. Maybe he wants to bring in the 1 Surgical Extraction here, but I don't think you want a bunch of Ravenous Traps in your deck against this matchup.
Especially on the play. On the play, I like a really light touch from Shrout's side. I wouldn't look to make too many changes. Just want to preserve that aggression that we saw come oh so close in that first game. Meanwhile, over on Cat's side, we were looking at 1 Surgical Extraction, 2 Blood Moon, 2 Anger of the Gods, 2 Abrade, 2 Seasoned Pyromancer, an interesting add out of this Izzet Phoenix deck, 3 Ravenous Trap, and 3 Spell Pierce. Craig, what are you doing if you're Cat?
So Cat's kind of in a similar boat here, where you don't want to get too creative with your sideboarding and just get burned out of the game with a bunch of awkward cards in your hand. There is an argument to be made. We mentioned Shrout's deck has a few more creatures than most of these decks play, so maybe you do want the Anger of the Gods. I think you definitely want the Abrades. It's just more Lightning Bolt effects. And then the Spell Pierce, we saw the last game, the burn deck often does not have a lot of extra lands that it's working with. Spell Pierce is often going to be very effective against them. So I can see bringing in 1 or 2 of these, especially when Cat has cards like Surgical Extraction in the main deck that need to come out.
Right. Yeah, there's some pretty clear cuts for Cat, and that's going to lead to a little bit more fluid sideboarding, allow a few more of these cards to make the cut than otherwise would. But I agree with your assessment. I like all the cards you mentioned, particularly Spell Pierce and Abrade, maybe Anger of the Gods, a little bit more fancy on that one. Mm-hmm. Well, if you're looking for the best in high-level analysis, you want to see all kinds of sideboard guides, see where the metagame is going, you better be subscribed to SCG Premium. Also, you get to read my articles. That's basically the biggest upside there is. You can become a Star City Games premium member today. Not only do you get all that content I talked about, but you get rid of the ads, and you also get a discount on your SCG purchases. I've been a premium member for, I don't even know now. It has to be like 9 years we're going on. And I will say this, even if I was not a writer for Star City, even if I wasn't involved with Star City, you can be sure I would be subscribed to premium. Just where the best minds in the game are going to talk about, and me. So you get really smart people, and you get my nonsense. It's really a win-win.
Yeah, so my premium just ran out recently.
Renew that right now, Craig.
And it's one of those things it's almost a little bit jarring. Like, I go to the website, and I'm like, I want to read this article. Click on it, and it's just like, hey, like, your premium's out. And I was just like, what? Like, come on.
Yeah, it's something I can't live without at this point.
So,
like I said, this is an easy shill for me because this is a product I really do believe in and love, and has been a huge part of my life for years. It's where I go for the best Magic knowledge.
Yeah, I figured I'd use my time around Cedric this weekend to try to leverage
a little free premium.
Yeah,
maybe?
a little freebie.
It's not a bad idea. Cedric's pretty tight purse, though. I've been trying to get some katana sleeves from him for basically a year now, and I've mostly come up empty-handed. So,
well,
if you can do it, more power to you. I'll say that.
So I did travel around with Cedric for a while, doing shows with him. I got a little dirt, you know.
There you go, a little blackmail action.
Yeah, I've been hanging on to it, and
okay.
You know, maybe now's the chance to leverage that and get that freemium, if you will.
Yeah, I like your style there. So the team of Negri, Light, and Stanley has a 1-game advantage over the team of Fear, Shrout, and Barich.
So I lost the milkshake back to Cedric involving Kazu Negri.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard this.
I don't think so.
So they handed us deck lists, and I was like, who printed this deck list? Like, everyone else has handwritten deck lists. And he's just like, oh, no, that's just Kazu's handwriting.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, no, there's no way this is someone's handwriting.
The finest handwriting on the SCG
So
tour.
clean.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So consistent. And so I made the wager that this cannot be handwriting, and then bought Cedric a milkshake.
Yeah.
Because I was wrong.
Immaculate penmanship, Kazu. I'm sure your elementary teachers would be most proud of the penman you've become.
Just the master with the quill.
Yeah. Would love to see someone bust out a quill during the players' meeting. Just dab into their little ink blot and go to town on there. Yeah, a little calligraphy to start the day. Why not?
Nice little feather. Yeah.
Just working it across the page with a flourish.
I mean, it sounds nice, but now obviously I just have a bone to pick with Kazu, costing me a milkshake.
Well, look, if he's going to make our jobs easy and his deck list easy to read, I mean, I'll buy you a milkshake if he continues to write that cleanly, quite frankly.
Done. Taking you up.
1 milkshake, please. And then you have the anti-Kazu in Austin Collins. Austin Collins, a fantastic Magic player, not a great penman. Austin, work on your penmanship. Looks like players are ready to go down to game 2. Andrew Shrout going to be on the play. Leads with just a mountain, no 1-drop here. You know what that means when we get to turn 2. You got to be thinking Eidolon. Yup. Cat going to respond. Has the lightning bolt. Going to take 2 damage. Fall to 18. But cleans up that problem right away.
I'm not so sure about Shrout's choice of mountains here. Are you you're a foil guy. You must have certain basics that just really do it for you, and other ones that you cringe at.
I do, but what may surprise you is I've always been a fan of white-bordered lands for searchability purposes.
Sure.
I like being able to fetch and just grab my white-bordered lands immediately. I've gotten away from those, though, with the unstable lands, which have now become my default basic lands, because those are also easily findable because they're borderless.
Yep.
So I am not going to hate on white-bordered lands. I think there's better white-bordered lands. My choice was usually white-border revised. I was quite fond of those.
Okay.
Maybe if you want to go real premium, white-bordered unlimiteds, if you're feeling flashy.
I do appreciate the consistency where he's got all the same artwork.
Absolutely, that's key.
Ooh, and this is a draw that's starting at a snail's pace.
So full price light up the stage, and Cat Light ready with the Spell Pierce. Shrout wastes a 3-mana turn, and that's a disastrous start for Andrew Shrout.
Yeah, you have to think with all of this time that Cat's going to be able to start putting something together, get some free Phoenixes into play.
Yeah.
Get a thing in the ice that's threatening to just clock the opponent.
Yeah, definitely not what Shrout was hoping for in this matchup.
Or even, going into turn 4, if Cat's able to deploy an Aria of Light with a healthy life total and a clean board, we saw how that's just enough to threaten the opponent and close out the game by itself.
Yeah, Aria of Flame continues to prove to be a silly Magic card. Every time it enters the battlefield, I feel like it further puts the discussion to bed of whether you should be considering Pyromancer Ascension.
Yeah, it's another card where I wonder if it's just too good because it asks so little of the player playing it.
I think it asks a lot in deck construction.
I don't, though, just because you already want to be playing the cheapest spells.
Well, that's what I was going to get to, is the fact that the best thing you can presently doing is probably like Faithless Looting and that type of setup like Izzet Phoenix. So in that instance, I understand what you're saying. I think it's a very good inclusion for the Storm decks. I think it does a lot to help that deck and makes it interesting again, where it had just fallen out of favor. And Cat getting aggressive here, sending a couple of lightning bolts towards Shrout's face and going to go ahead and attack with this Arclight Phoenix. Shrout already falling to 11.
And this is just a little bit awkward for Cat in that I don't think it should be too hard for Shrout to burn out this Arclight Phoenix if he wants to. And if he has another Eidolon, she just used all of her lightning bolts to go after the opponent's face.
Well, you're right, but there was very good evidence that Shrout was unlikely to have more threats in hand given how he played the last turn.
That's fair.
So I get your point, but basically I think Cat faced the worst case scenario with this Goblin Guide. I'm assuming coming off the top of Andrew Shrout's deck. It was followed up by Light Up the Stage, and things could have gotten ugly quick, but really bad reveals there for Shrout. Only 2 mountains coming off the top of the deck. Here's a Skewer the Critics headed towards that Arclight Phoenix. Man, 2 mountains off Light Up the Stage feels real bad. Even if they were islets and canyons, it's just so much better. But 2 pure mountains, not great there for Shrout. We know Cat's draw. It's a Faithless Looting, revealed from that Goblin Guide.
The burn deck giveth and the burn deck taketh away.
Truly does. Truly does. You really need some iron will to saddle up with that deck. You have to accept the things you cannot control, Craig.
I don't accept the things I can't control.
Then this is not the deck for you. Keep playing these cantrip decks.
I just walk around with a constant ulcer.
That is one fine approach to take. Just let your anger and uncertainty consume you.
Just keep pushing it down.
Yep. Until you explode like a volcano of rage. Here comes Faithless Looting. 2 cards off the top for Cat. Couple of cantrips, looks like. At least a Thought Scour. Maybe Lightning Bolts for the other card? 4th copy of Lightning Bolt? Let's see. Here's Thought Scour. It is a Lightning Bolt. 2 cards off the top. 1 red. I don't know if it's an Arclight Phoenix. I think it was an Aria of Flame, based on the distribution of the text.
And this is interesting because with Shrout starting to get pretty low in life total, there's some argument for just pointing this lightning bolt at your opponent's face.
It's close, and I think that's what Cat and Kazu are debating right now. No, it's going to head towards the Goblin Guide.
So I think this is the safer route. You're saying if the game just goes long, I have so many cantrips. I have the Faithless Looting in my graveyard that I can flash back.
Right.
It definitely favors this Izzet Phoenix deck if the game goes another 3 or 4 turns.
So Shrout not even going to deploy that mountain that he found with Light Up the Stage. Just going to go ahead and cash in a canyon instead. And the draw off that canyon, it was mountain.
It's a lot of lands. He's got a bunch more lands in his hand.
Yep. Not a great draw here from Shrout. And Cat clearly the aggressor right now. Over in the Fear Negri match, it's tied at 1 game apiece. But Catlight looks to be in a commanding position here. Arclight Phoenix going to call into the red zone.
Look at you.
Working on my bird calls lately. Yeah. I'm a big bird fan. I got a bird bath in my backyard. Pacific Northwest has a lot of cool birds. They get like big woodpeckers and these cute little finches, and there's hummingbirds all over the place. And also I like Arclight Phoenix. So.
And you just sit on your back porch and you make calling noises at them?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
They don't like it very much.
No, I would imagine not.
I enjoy myself. That's what's important.
Yeah, that bird bath isn't out there for them.
Right. I just sit in it and call all day. It's real awkward for my neighbors. Couple of haste creatures here off the top for Shrout. Man, these light up the stages are going wrong even when they're going right, it feels like.
Yeah, it's just like two good creatures, but is it too late?
Yeah. Going to go ahead, cash in that Canyon, deploy Monastery Swiftspear, deploy Goblin Guide, pass the turn back to Cat. Shrout saying, can you kill me? Meanwhile, we have our first result over in the Bant Infect Is It Phoenix match, and Robert Stanley taking it down. That means if Catlight is able to close this one out, her team going to proceed to 9-2-1.
Yeah, it's a good spot. Like we said earlier, only 25 teams here in day 2.
Here's a second Arc-Light Phoenix from Catlight, and that is going to get the handshake from Andrew Shrout. The team of Negri, Light, and Stanley thus far on the day, 3-0. Squeaked into day 2 with the 6-2-1 record and making the most of it. Kat tweeted earlier that last time her team entered day 2 at 6-2-1, they top 8'd. So she's looking